Rev It Up Racing has rapidly expanded its depth by producing quality content with your number one coverage in Michigan and Ontario. And so, we have added Rev It Up Racing Radio to our racing media platform. Rev It Up Racing Radio is your short track racing grassroots coverage in late model, modified, ABC stock car, street stock, and four-cylinder divisions. Listen weekly for short track news, rankings, schedules, and driver interviews.
Welcome, everyone. We are here for this week's Rev It Up Racing Radio with our guest, Superstock driver Trevor Collver and ABC United Late Model Series driver Michael Gold. Our first guest today is Michael Gold. Michael is sitting 23rd in the APC United Late Model Series standings after two races, with a fifth at Flamborough Speedway in early 2017, then the ninth row start on June 10th at Flamborough Speedway, where he finished 23rd, then started third for the Canadian 100 July 1st at Delaware Speedway. Michael graduated from Lakehead University with a degree in mechanical engineering, but decided to make a big career change 2 years ago when he became a sales representative for Exit Realty Lake Superior and Sault Ste. Marie. Good day, Michael, and how are you?
I'm doing great. And yourself?
Good. Like I say, this with you driving the APC, like you say, late model series, you've only done two races, so you're sitting 23rd in the standings. You had a fifth in Flamborough. That was just the opening season, and then the last two races, you've like you say, you started on the third row and the ninth row, and you had a 10th and a 23rd. So where do you think your season's sitting with two races so far?
Well, it's we're a part-time team, right? Like, we missed the first two events, so we're just basically a father-son team, and we're just doing this for fun. Timing-wise, didn't really work for us to try and make the first two events, and really we're doing this for fun. So why bust ourselves trying to make it when really we're not going for points right now this year? We're limited budget, and so we're basically just going to pick the races that work best for us. And going the first Flamborough race worked out for the best for both of our schedules, and it's just such a tight field there. Like, we qualified the same time as I did last year. And last year I qualified 5th, and this year I qualified 18th. So everybody came back with faster cars, and everyone just got faster. The first 12 guys broke the track record from last year. So we didn't get any slower, just we didn't get much faster in qualifying. And there's a new qualifying way they do it now this year. They do group qualifying. So normally you go out there by yourself for 2 laps, which I've been known to do my whole racing career. We qualify at Laird Raceway, and I've always loved qualifying. But having a group qualifying where it's 5 laps, it kind of changes your strategy a little bit. And so I tried to put down my quickest lap in the first 2, when meanwhile I have a new strategy now where I'm going to try and stay smooth and then try and get my fastest lap on the very end. So I kind of screwed up a little bit in qualifying, making a start at the back. But really, it's kind of a blessing in disguise, because we had a fuel issue the whole race. When you hit your street car and you slam the gas, it kind of takes a split second for it to really go. And a race car, it's not supposed to happen, but we were having that issue. So I had to lane on a few guys a few times, trying to make my way to the front, but the car just had a major delay on it. So we took apart our whole fuel system, and we never really found anything, but it's an older car, and so my dad just changed everything in the fuel system, and it was fine the last race. So yeah, we had a DNF. We didn't finish the first APC race. I had to pull off around lap 50. There was a restart, all these cars around me, and I hit the gas. It just didn't go. Like, pretty intense experience, but I managed to get off the track without causing a caution or anything. So pretty happy about that. And really, we were happy with the way the car's working. Like, it handles well. It was driving good. We just had a fuel issue. So, and then the last race at Delaware, we were fast right in the box. Really, we practiced on older tires, which doesn't really help us with the group that we qualify with. But during qualifying, I put down some really good laps. And my last lap, I actually got held up by another driver, and I was setting up for my last lap to be the fastest. So we qualified 6th, and I think I probably would have had a few extra spots if I had a clean last lap. But then again, it probably worked out okay for us. Starting 6th is a good starting spot. Managed to stay with the top guys for more than half the race. And we probably set up the car a little bit too loose, because the car got really loose on me. And the last 30, 40 laps there, I was just holding on. I ended up losing a few spots, finishing 10th. We were happy just to come home with the car in one piece. And the car is really good. Like, even though it wasn't handling good at the end, we're happy with it. We have an idea on what to change for next race, and we're ready for this Saturday.
And like you're saying, we talked, like you say, before the show, and you've taken a few years off. Like you say, you went to Lakehead for mechanical engineering. Then the last 2 years you become, like you say, now you're selling real estate. With taking a few years off behind the wheel, why did you stop and decided to get behind the wheel again of the 97G?
Well, it was actually about 5 years. 2010 was my last race at RIUR Raceway, and I didn't get back into it until 2015. And like, I have such a passion for racing, but it's very consuming, and it's tough to do without the proper support. I had good job opportunities in 2010, and I just had to go chase them. I hated being out of the racing scene. Like, I would think about it like every week, wishing I'd be out there driving, and would always try and make a plan to get back in the driver's seat, but things just didn't happen until 2015. My dad, he was working in a different country, and you need support. You need a crew, you need a garage, you need a car, you need sponsors, and when you're working full time and you only get 2 days off on the weekend, it's hard to do that by yourself. So my dad came back to Canada, and he's retired, and we both loved racing so much. So 2015, the APC series started up. And I shared the ride with Trevor Collver, which we can talk about later. But I was working as an engineer in Sudbury 2015, and all my vacation days were used up either traveling or working on the car. Like, this is such a crazy sport. We know we're crazy for doing it, but we just love it so much, and we're just happy to be back.
And anybody I talk to, once it's in your blood forever, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Now, with you being based in Sault Ste. Marie, and most of your, depending if you go through the States or even through Canada, either way, most of your races are anywhere from 7 to 9 hours away from Sault Ste. Marie, and with all that traveling, and like you say, you store your car in Southern Ontario. How do you prepare for races and work on the car when your car mostly stays down there?
Yeah, so I live in Sault Ste. Marie, but the car is based in London. So my dad lives in London. He's got a nice, clean, basically a one-car shop that we work out of, and so he works on it hard. He's a retired guy. He works really hard in the off-season and in between races, but I'll manage to go there the day before the race just to do the final setup with him, because you need the driver in the car and all the final little tweaking stuff, but he's wrenching on it constantly. He sends me emails back and forth with detailed analysis of what happened throughout every race, and we try to keep all of our notes just really proper and tight, just because our competition is so tight. You gotta be on your game racing against these guys. And if you slip up a little bit on your setup or something, you can go from 5th place to 15th so quick. So yeah, traveling for it. You know what? I'll do anything. I'll do anything to drive a race car. And driving 6 hours to the race, I do it by myself almost all the time. And I get mentally prepared. I just drive and I cruise and think about what I'm going to do when I get to the racetrack and what we're going to do to the car. And I kind of like the drive. Coming home, it's kind of not the greatest, but because you use up days of work and maybe days of holidays too. But it's what we do for this crazy sport.
Exactly. And you mentioned, looking forward to this weekend, July 15th. The 97G is headed to Flamborough Speedway for the APC United Late Model Series for the London Recreational Racing 100. How are you preparing for the London Recreational?
So we started our year by testing at Flamborough. I raced one regular event there, and then we competed in the Meineke 100 June 10th. Our race day ended early because of our fuel issue, but everything feels good there. We've been working hard on getting the car set up right, and ever since my first time at Flamborough back in 2015, I put it on the pole my first time there against 26 other good cars. So first time I pulled on the racetrack, I went on the radio and I said, I love this place. I don't know what it is about it. Just a nice tight little track. It's kind of like what I grew up on, and I feel confident on it. We have one of the older cars. Like, some of these guys have brand new cars, and their motors, some of them, it's a very good rule package where cars are meant to be the same. But the top guys are still the top cars. Even though our car's older, we still feel like we can compete at the front.
Now, after, like you say, you're going in the 15th, and again, working full-time, and your dad's retired, but working full-time, and you're driving. After the 15th, what's the rest of the season, your 2017 racing season looking like?
So we're basically just going with the flow with this year. Like, we remind each other, like, race can be very stressful at times, and I have to remind my dad, and he reminds me that we're doing this for fun, right? So we're just going with the flow. So after we have a good race at Flamborough, there are 2 more races at 2 tracks I've never been to before, Sauble Speedway and Sunset Speedway. I would love to go and compete there. That being said, it's more travel for us, right? It's 3 hours each way to either track from London, and so that's probably a hotel room. We got to bring a crew, just adds cost to it. So depending how things go, I would love to go. We have limited sponsor. If we can bring on a new sponsor or something, and they would want to see us compete at some of these tracks, I would be all for it. But we might just save it for the grand opening at Jukasa, which is the old Cayuga Speedway.
At the end of August?
So that's at the end of August. Yeah, there's a test that we're going to go to the week after the Flamborough race. And it's going to be a huge event. Like, they're expecting like something like 50 cars there. They have some NASCAR legends coming there. Kenny Schrader, who I've been watching racing since I was a little kid. Like, I'm thrilled to race against some of these guys. And I just hope that we can make the event and put on a good show. But yeah, we're just going with the flow and then see how things go. We're doing this for fun.
And like you say, heading to Hagersville, Cayuga, the old Cayuga. It's for your dad. It's like I say, I'm originally from down there, so really, if you want to cross through the farm country, he's not that far from there. So for him, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump, right?
Yeah, it's not too bad for him, but we're still cruising with the trailer. So it takes about, like, by the time you leave, it's door to door, about 2 hours, but really, it's no big deal. Yeah, I'm excited to go try it. It's a huge track. I raced Cayuga back in my CASCAR days, and we had a good showing there. So I'm excited to go back.
Well, that leads into my next question. Like, say, being 34 and not old at all, because like being from Sault Ste. Marie and Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan native, Dennis Ahole, he's in his 50th year. He's 71 years old. I was talking to him this weekend. So you being 34 is quite young, but with being recreational, and you say it's in your blood, but what do you get out of it when you get behind that wheel?
Well, it's like being away from racing, it makes me appreciate it so much more. Like, just the little things. Like, we had our tires stored in the trailer for a couple of days, and I walked in there, and it's like the nicest smell I've ever smelled. Just all the little things, like just the intensity of the race, like pulling my seatbelts tight right before taking the green flag, like the flames shooting out of the exhaust pipes on the competition's cars, like the sound of the exhaust coming off the concrete wall. Like, it's just so wild. Like, if you haven't experienced it before, then when you're doing it all the time, every week, you kind of forget about the little things. But now that I'm back in it, like, I just appreciate, like, even at the starting lineup of that Delaware race a couple weeks ago, like, where I'm just looking behind and there's almost 30 cars there, and everyone's like so professional, you know, like, and for us to be near the front, it was just such a great feeling for us to pull off a good qualifying run and even finishing top 10. Like, we're so thankful we're able to do that, and thankful I'm able to do this with my dad. Like, it's great father-son bonding. But as far as where I want to go with my racing, like, I plan on doing this till I'm old and gray, really. I want to compete at every track possible in North America, race against the best of the best, and just see where things take me, really.
Well, and that's like, and talking with us being from Sault Ste. Marie, so for people who aren't from this area, the Kinross Speed track's about 20 miles down into Michigan. And when I was at the track the other day, and I mentioned Denny Ahole being 71 years old. Another gentleman who happens to be my father walked up to him, who was 70, and shook his hand and just congratulated him, saying 50 years of racing. Like, he goes, I can't believe, like, you're still behind the wheel. And for this type of sport, a lot of sports you have to give up after a certain while, where this sport you can drive until more or less one of two things. You don't want to drive anymore, or you just can't fit through that window to get in, right?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Even if you can't fit, they can build a car to make you fit. You'd be surprised. Like, there's some guys that you would think wouldn't be able to drive a race car just because it doesn't look like they're fit, but they can pull off the fastest lap at the end of a 100-lap race, and it baffles you that they're able to do that. But yeah, like guys that are have completely white hair are out there pulling out fast laps. Like it's a pretty cool sport that way.
And that's where you can compete from the age of 12 to 14 to whatever age until you want to stop racing, right?
Yeah, we have a guy competing with us, 13 years old. He comes from a good family history of racers, and but he's doing a great job out there. He's doing awesome. They're coaching him very well, and I'm happy to race against them.
And you mentioned the father-son bonding, and it's something like, say, father-sons, they don't always get along, but you're spending a lot of time, and you're depending on your dad because he's working on the car, and you get those heated moments and everything else. But father-son bonding is something, again, we look at now, but it's something you quite cherish, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. Like we used to go golfing. Like, he was my hockey coach growing up, and we'd go golfing and stuff together, and a lot of those things you're just kind of going out there and enjoying the day, but like we're challenging each other all the time. You just can't take each other's word for it. We have to like challenge each other to make sure that we are definitely working towards getting this car better and making our team better. And yeah, we're spending a ton of time together. Like, we do like long hours. Like, any racer knows that you put in long hours to do this. Like, sometimes spectators think you just put on the trailer and roll it off and race on Friday night and put it back on, but it's unreal the amount of time that goes into these things. And if you don't put the time in, you're not going to be fast. There is that.
And now with like you say, the APC United Late Model Series, it's still in its infancy. It's only been 3 years. Can you tell us your thoughts on the series and why you've chosen to race this series?
Yeah, we were racing APC series. Well, we like the rule book. It keeps all the cars pretty much the same. It eliminates any type of like serious cheating. And if someone does try to cheat, they're going to be able to catch it pretty quick, I'd think. They're all sealed motors, template bodies, and they run a super professional show. They keep the fans in mind. When we're at all of our drivers' meetings, one of the main topics every week is to put on a good show for the fans, and they're doing it. APC, it's top drivers that know what they're doing, and we have respect for each other out there. I've raced at different tracks where you can't race side by side with anyone for more than a lap because those basically push you up the track, hit you out of the way. But APC, we know we're all racers, and you'll see side by side, door handle racing for like a good 20, 30 laps at times. And it's an awesome show. If you've never been out to an APC race, you should come check out this week at Flamborough.
And that's the biggest thing, and it doesn't matter what sport it is today, but it's sports now. It's entertainment, and really, if you classify to the NHL or like NFL or NBA, they're athletes. Where you guys are athletes, but you're entertaining at the same time. So fans like to see those crashes, everything else, but when you see those door to door going into all four corners and no accidents and the speed you're going, it's makes it quite entertaining for the fans, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah, and you will see a spin outs, and there's been, if you look at the history of APC, there's been quite a few wrecked race cars, like totally wrecked. We wrecked one ourselves last year. I've had a pretty clean racing career. Knock on wood, I've had really good luck staying out of trouble. But last year we got caught up in a wreck, and it really hurts the racing program. So yeah, it's fun for the fans and stuff, but as a driver, you just hate seeing it. Like, I don't want to see anyone wreck their car. But I get it as part of the sport. But APC, even though there are a lot of, like, everyone's a good driver out there, you'll still see cars getting together and spinning each other out. It's just part of it. It's part of racing.
Oh, and that's exactly it. And a lot of people I talk to, like, say, doing the radio show, it's not NASCAR. Even NASCAR owners don't want to see their cars wrecked at the $1 million cars, of course. But for you guys, you're weekend warriors, so it's something, again, you don't want your car banged up, so you don't want to bang up the other guy's car because you don't want to take it back to the shop and spend, like you say, your dad taking a day and a half just to bang it out so that he could get it ready for the following week. So, again, you
right. What NASCAR, it's comical sometimes, especially for a small team like us. You see they wreck a race car and they're like, oh, well, we wrecked one, and I really have like 20 more in the back in the shop. If we wreck one, like, our season's probably over, right?
You might have those extra tires in the trailer, but that's about it, right?
Yeah. You know what? Even cutting a tire down hurts quite a bit. It's an expensive sport, and it's why we need our sponsors to help us out.
And that's exactly. And now you've you've raced different tracks or facilities, like say throughout North America through your years of racing. What's probably your favorite track, your favorite race at that track, and are you calling Flamborough your home track this year? Because that's probably where you're going to run the most.
Well, as far as my home track, I would say Laird Raceway would be my home track. Even though it's covered with dirt right now, I grew up racing there, and it's a cool track. Like, it's shaped like a D. It's got 2 different corners. It's got a big dip going in the fastest corner. I've had a track record there, 2 track championships there, and some serious competition came out of there. Like Laird Raceway, Kinross Speedway, we've developed some really good drivers, and they just haven't really had a chance to go down to Southern Ontario to compete with the guys that I'm competing with. But I give credit to these small local tracks that made me such a good qualifier, because we would qualify every week. I took pride in my qualifying runs, and I tried to break the track record every time we went out there. And just it shows by coming here for qualifying days. There's cars that are straight up faster than we are, but I'm able to put down a good qualifying lap just because of my experience of qualifying.
Understand.
As far as my home track this year, I guess we would race more at Flamborough, and I do love racing at that track. But I've raced at pretty much almost all the tracks in Ontario. There's a few I haven't hit yet, which I mentioned already, Sauble and Sunset, which I would love to go to. And someday we will. It'd be great if we went this year, but I'm not holding my breath, and there's always next year for that. But I raced at tracks all over the place. Laird Raceway, Onaway, Peterborough, Kawartha, Cayuga, Barrie Speedway, which is now closed down. We had a really good run there in our CASCAR days. Dixie Motor Speedway, I went there with a super late model. Never been there before, and then we were up running on near the top 10 after lap 11. And I'm just excited to go try out that new track. You know, it's kind of going to be a level playing field for everybody. It's got a brand new surface on it, so it should be fun to be out there.
Well, and that's exactly like I mentioned my father earlier, but I'm going way back. Probably I'm 47, so before even I was born, he used to race out there on the drag strip, and I was actually showing him pictures yesterday of what they're doing, and he goes that the owner, like I say, it's just amazing with what they're doing, because what they had has been around since more or less since my father dragged up there. So for what they've done over the years in racing, and now how they've changed and putting the money into it, it's going to probably be one of the top facilities, if not the top facility, probably in the nation.
For sure. I saw a couple pictures, and it looks so professional. I'm excited just to go there.
Now you've raced like say a lot of drivers, and it's something you race the same drivers in this series quite a bit. Now, who would you say you really like to race against, and maybe one or two that you didn't like to race against?
Well, the guys I didn't like to race against are the ones you're worried that are going to wreck your car, right? The ones that you don't know what they're going to do every corner. When every time they go in, you don't know if they're going to slide up or be really slow going in. They're going to be sideways going around the corner. Those are the ones I don't want to race against. The guys I like to race against are always the fastest guys, right? If you go out there and you beat cars that you're way faster than like, where's the challenge in that? So, as far as racing the APC, like, the field's so tight. Like, first to 20th spot could be like 0.2 of a second in qualifying. And like I said earlier, like, it was like so much side by side racing, and everyone shows so much respect out there. But that being said, you still are rubbing fenders, and I had one race where all the stickers were ripped off my car after one race. Like, it happens. You're racing hard out there. As far as guys to like look out for, yeah, there's a handful of guys who are always near the front, and we're always trying to be there. We always want to be racing with the fastest guys, and yeah, like, there's special events where NASCAR guys come up. I would love to race against some of them. Once you have your helmet on and sitting in the car, like, really, I don't really care who's in there. Like, I know how fast your car is just from watching qualifying, watching practice, and really, you're just another car.
Exactly, and it depends just who comes across the line first, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I'm not intimidated by any other driver out there. You know who's fast. And in this series, if someone's faster than you and they've been right on your bumper for a while, you got to move over, let them go, or they're going to move you. And that's the good thing about this series, that you know that you're not going to they don't want to wreck you, but like racing in small town flats, sometimes you worry about guys just getting hot under their helmet and driving over their head and wrecking you. But you don't see that in this kind of racing.
And I was going to say with the ABC like say series, it's I'm saying there's a few guys who don't make certain races, guys who make other races, but it's more or less a group of people that are doing those races, and so you get to know, even though you've only raced a few races, you get to know that they know what they're doing when it comes to racing that series, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. No one's going out there causing 4 cautions or anything like that. Everybody, they have good programs, and everyone has lots invested in these things, and it's just a professional series. And
now, like you say, our guest later, so like say you had mentioned Trevor, and can you talk a little bit about Trevor and how you know this gentleman?
Yeah, well, Trevor's a great guy. He's so passionate about the sport, such a hard worker. He is young. I think he's like 20, 21 years old, but he's done lots in the sport already. He and I, we met because we shared this car in 2015. So when the APC series started, he had good sponsors to help him with the APC series, and I raced the regular event at Delaware Speedway because I was only able to make a few races with my work commitments. I took all my holidays just for traveling to get to the racetrack. But Trevor, he's been helping us out in the pits this year, and he was my spotter in the last 2 APC races so far. Good driver. I'm happy to call him my friend, and we appreciate him as a teammate.
And for him, and like I mentioned before, you're not old compared to me. You're still young, but like I say, being 34 and him being I think 22, is you got that 12 years experience. So even with him helping you drive, it's like say when you're not in the car or on the track, you're still probably talking about driving as drivers, right? So he's learning from you also.
Yeah, for sure. Like he's been around these tracks for a while, and he's watched pro late models, their line, and who's fast and who's not fast, and yeah, anybody, even some guys who aren't drivers, can give me a tip on the proper line, and especially not being from around here, not having thousands of laps on his tracks like my competition does. Like I'm sure if APC came to Laird Raceway, took the dirt off, I might have a little bit of an advantage over the rest of them. But he's being a spotter. You really have to be a racer. You have to have a racer's mentality. But we have our own language, and it'd be great to record our conversations during some of these races because it's quite comical sometimes.
I could just imagine. Now, the last question I always ask people is, who would you like to thank when it comes to helping with the car, of course, and also like to mention some of your sponsors?
Yeah, well, number one would be my dad. He got me into the sport when I was just a scrawny 15-year-old kid. And he's the best car chief I've ever had. He knows and trusts that I'm out there trying to get everything I can out of the race car, and he's not doubting my driving ability. He knows I'm a good driver, and we're constantly working together to make this thing better. He works hard on this car. It's just something we share, a passion we share, and my dad followed in his footsteps for a lot of things. Like he was a mechanical engineer technologist, and I got my mechanical engineering degree. He is a racer. I'm a racer. And I look up to the guy, and I love him very much, and I'm just so happy we can do this together.
No, are you just saying that because he fixes your car so that he keeps it safe for you, or?
Well, you know what? I just try not to. We're always so thrilled whenever we can put it on the trailer and not have to do any body work to it. But
exactly.
But even before last year we had a killer year. We blew a motor. My very first APC race, I qualified up front, started on the outside pole, and I blew my motor around lap 6. Like I had blue smoke coming out of my exhaust lap 6. I had to pull off around lap 11. That was at Flamborough Speedway. So first race of the season, we blew our motor, and then and we only raced 4 times that year, and I wrecked twice. So that's just one we're going to forget about. And but other than that, we've had a good history of bringing the car home in one piece, and I'm going to do my best to keep doing that. That being said, I'm going to still send it as hard as I can in the corner and do my very best to bring it to the front. But yeah, he's great. We love this sport, and he's sending me emails of spreadsheets and And you should see some of the emails that we have going on with all the data involved in it. And racing is definitely not a dumb sport. We're not a bunch of rednecks going around in circles. Like it's, we're making really fine tune adjustments to these cars and measuring the tire temperatures and a lot goes into it. And I would invite anybody to come out there and come in the pits and watch what we do. It's quite the experience.
And like you say, talk about sponsors. You do have, again, Exit Realty, and that's like say who with the real estate you work for. Is there other sponsors on the card you'd like to mention?
Yeah, so Exit Realty, they're a new sponsor. When I was doing my career change, I went and met with basically all the brokers in Sault Ste. Marie and Exit Realty. They just great people. You know, I just got a good vibe from them, and they were a supporter of mine back in 2008 when I raced at Laird Raceway. They had a little Exit sticker on my car, and I hope they continue to support. And that logo just looks so awesome on the hood. I think our car looks pretty wild this year. Bordertown Classics. Check out their website, bordertownclassics.com. They've been with us since we started again in 2015. They go to all the major car auctions, and they bring about 5 cars every time they go. They sell 5 of them, and they buy 5 more. So if you're looking for a classic car or motorcycle, check out that website, bordertownclassics.com.
And they're based in Sault Ste. Marie, right?
Based out of Sault Ste. Marie, yeah. They go to all the big shows, and even just being at a car auction here, if you've never been to one, even if you're not even looking to buy something, it's pretty exciting to be there. And but we have some good sponsors. Fix Auto, they help us out by painting our car. Depth Contracting, a buddy of mine from Sudbury area, and StepCon. And of course, I got my own company name on there, Sold by Gold, for selling real estate in Sault Ste. Marie.
And do other drivers bug you about that Sold by Gold at all? Just it happens to be, if you do come first and get the checkered, it is gold, right?
It's gold, for sure. Sold by Gold, man. It just rolls off your tongue, I think.
Exactly.
So, Sold by Gold, that's going to be a household name someday, I hope. And so we sponsor the volleyball team in Sault Ste. Marie, and I think it's a cool little slogan. And check out my website, soldbygold.ca.
And again, being with the show being based in Sault Ste. Marie, it's something, again, real estate wise. It's if anybody's looking, make sure they contact you also, right?
Oh, absolutely. You know what? I'm so happy with my career change. I'm a mechanical engineer, and people told me that I was crazy for quitting my my good job back in Sudbury. I was a plant manager for a concrete company, and just wasn't happy doing what I was doing. And I made 2 years ago, I made a career change, and I studied for real estate on the side while working and racing. And I'm just so much happier doing this. It's so rewarding. I get to help people. It's like buying a house or selling a house is life changing, and it's such a different atmosphere compared to doing an engineering job, where you work your butt off in engineering, and then it's no pat on the back. It's just like, okay, here's the next one, right?
Yep.
But selling real estate is that everyone's just excited. I get to deal with great people all the time, and yeah, so hit me up. My phone number is 705-989-GOLD.
And that's the thing, is when people don't know about Sault Ste. Marie, incredible city, but people probably thought you were nuts going, you're moving back to Sault Ste. Marie to start selling homes, just being from Sault Ste. Marie and everything else. And like I say, the way the city is, people probably thought you were nuts, right?
You know what? Yeah, I didn't think I'd ever come back to do this early in my life. But I'm so happy to be back. I have so many friends here, and the small town life is just great. Like going to Toronto is great, but for the weekend. But I love leaving on Sunday. Just be able to. I can get anywhere in this town in basically 5 minutes. You know, like it's easy to get everywhere. Real estate is super cheap right now. You wouldn't believe some of the houses what they go for right now. Like it's definitely a buyer's market right now, and yeah, you know what? I love our little Sault Ste. Marie. Yeah, it gets cold here, and but you know what? Go on vacation. Go get the sun somewhere else during those cold winter months.
And that goes back to with your dad being in London and everything else, to say weather-wise. But up here, it gives you time to, again, put the car away for a couple months and enjoy this. I guess if you want to enjoy the snow, but it's something that it just gives you time to relax and get away from racing a little bit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Mike, I can't thank you enough, and hopefully we can talk soon.
Right on. Thanks a lot, Jay. And yeah, let's chat after the big race in Flamborough, and I'll keep you posted.
We will for sure.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Jay.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Bye. We're here with Trevor Collver today on the Rev It Up Racing Radio. How are you today, Trevor?
Good. How are you, Jay?
Good. The first question is when we talk about is you're a super stock driver. Can you tell us what exactly super stock is?
So the super stock I race it mainly at Delaware Speedway, which is located just outside of London, Ontario, about 15 minutes away. The super stock division I race in, we have a 3,100 pound car, which is equipped with a 1970 to 81 Camaro front clip. And from there on back and there on up, it's a custom tube chassis. So it weighs 3,100 pounds. We have a 602 crate motor in it, 4 9-inch rear end, leaf springs in the back, coil springs in the front. We're not allowed adjustable low bolts. Like it's pretty stock for the most part. Like we're not able to put all the great parts on it like Pro Late model guys can, and that definitely limits you. But you got to think outside the box.
And with you being 22 years old, and I was talking to, like, say, Mike earlier, and that being you're a young guy compared to Mike, and Mike's a young guy compared to me, but with being 22, how did you get into racing, and how long you been racing?
Yeah, it's a crazy story, actually. So my dad, he has 6 brothers, and all 7 of them are all mechanics. They have been around it since forever. Like they were born into a family of mechanics. My grandpa was a mechanic, and they all grew up knowing cars and that sort of stuff. My one uncle raced drag cars, and they're all mechanics. So you would think that my dad's side of the family and my dad and them, they got me into racing, but it's the total opposite. My mom is the biggest diehard NASCAR fan you'll ever meet. Like any NASCAR trivia question, I don't think you're going to beat her in it because she knows everything about everything. And big NASCAR fan, big racing fan. She's a huge help to me at the track, in the shop. She's the one who really got it started. She said to my stepdad and my dad, can we get the boys into this and that? And we started at Graham Bend in micro sprints, and that was truly because she wanted to get us racing, and we haven't looked back since. We've been racing for 12 years now. I ran in the micro sprints for a couple of years at Graham Bend. Then we moved up to the mini trucks at Graham Bend. Full time after that in the Delaware trucks. Then on to the super stocks. We did a year in the APC Pro Late models, and we're back in the super stocks right now.
Now, you say when you say your mom was it? Now, has she ever got behind the wheel?
Yeah, I don't know if she'd want to tell that story or not. But she jumped behind the wheel of my brother's sprint car once, and she only got one lap in before my stepdad had to stop her and let her know that if she didn't go any faster, she's going to burn out the clutch. She's actually a pretty good driver on the road, and she had Camaros growing up, and she'll haul the truck and trailer to the racetrack. But I don't know, she said that turn 4 wall really jumped out at her, and she didn't want to wreck the car, and she's seen how twitchy those micro sprints can be, and I think she's better running the stopwatch and doing the tire temps and helping us out.
At least she has the experience now that she knows what it's like to be behind that wheel for when you're dealing with her, right?
Exactly, for sure.
Now, with you concentrating mostly on Delaware and the Superstock division, can you talk a little bit about that division and why you've chosen to race at that division, that level?
So, like I said, I moved up to Delaware in the truck series, and we ran the truck series for a couple years. Our first year, we won Rookie of the Year and finished 3rd in points. Second year, we finished 3rd in points again, and we figured it was time to move up to to a different car, different class, and that was a super stock class. The primary reason for it was competition. There's so many competitive cars running so close and putting on such a good show. I figured if I want to learn and I want to get to a faster car and I want to learn good, competitive, respectful racing, this is the class to go to, because like I said, there's 7 or 8 guys now on any given night that could have a shot at winning that race. And then that's 7 or 8 very competitive guys. Then there's a couple guys that they're hit or miss, and then there's still a handful of cars after that. Most nights we regularly have between 15, 20 cars, and like I said, very competitive racing. A good group of guys that know where they came from, and they know they got to fix their cars in the shop during the week after they work their full-time job. So they're gonna be respectful on the track for the most part.
And can you tell us, like you say, with having Mike on, he does the ABC the late model series. What's different when it comes to the super stock compared to the late model series? Is there much difference when it comes to the cars?
Oh, for sure. There's a lot of similarities, a lot of differences. So the biggest difference with those is like they are twice the car that we have, right? Like they have they're on all 4 springs or coil springs. They're all coilovers. They're now on bump stops on the front 2 for sure, and some guys are putting bump stops in their left rear. Their cars are so much more advanced than ours, and the racing too itself. Again, the general racing part is not that different. It's the format. So our race format is we have a 3-minute qualifying session with all the cars out there. So all the cars go out there. We got 3 minutes to lay down as many laps or as few laps as we want on the racetrack to get our quick time. And then after that time is set, they will tech the top 5 cars. There will be a dice roll, and that will invert however many cars up to 6, or the guy who starts on the pole, or the guy who got the pole, could start on the pole depending on the dice roll. And that will set our feature number 1. Feature number 2 will be a complete invert of the starting order of the original race. So we have 2 25-lap features. They're quick compared to the APC races, right? The APC way they do it, they have a 5-lap, 5-car qualifying session where you go out there. Like I said, there's 5 laps with 5 cars. You get your chance to do your best lap in those 5 laps. After that sets the field again, and they will do the same sort of deal. They'll draw poker chips, the top 5, to see where they start. The rest of the field will start based on time, and it's a 100-lap race. So in that race, you're racing for 100 laps, so you need to have a car for 100 laps. In our 25-lap races, yeah, we got to make sure that we don't screw ourselves up on the first lap too, but we can be a little more aggressive throughout the whole thing, because if you're starting at the back, you don't have a lot of time to mess around. Like I said, we've got so many competitive cars. When you're out there, you're on your way to the front. In these APC races, usually if you're going to have a shot, you're going to qualify pretty good, and you're going to ride it out. Those last, you got to have tires at the end, right? Like this last weekend at Delaware, we qualified 6th with Gold Racing, Mike driving. He qualified 6th. He ran 6th for the first 40 laps. And we think after that, we burned up the tires a little bit. The handling on the car definitely went away, but we're wondering if we used up our stuff a little too early. And the key to those races is having a car for the last laps, because let's face it, at the end of the day, the only guy that's carrying away the trophy is the one who crosses the line first after 100 laps. So you gotta have tires for that lap 100. So the conservation in those races for your tires, for your equipment in general, like you run into a guy on lap 3, you're gonna knock the toe out So you're driving with a ill handling car for 97 laps because you're getting rammy on lap 3, right? Like it's a totally different mindset in that scenario.
And I don't want to say it exactly, but when you're running 25 laps, it's almost, I don't want to say balls to the wall, but it's 25 laps, you got to go and go and go. Where the 100 lap, it's almost to a point a patience game, right? You got to move when you need to move and do what you got to do. Where when you're doing 25 laps, it's if you're at the back or you're in the middle of the pack, you got to go right from the start, right?
Oh, exactly. And the way the point structures are too, like obviously any race, whether it's a heat race, a feature race, any of that is super important. And the points, like I said, with how close these top cars are with each other, if you start at the back, that's too bad. You start at the back, you need to finish in the top 5. If you're going to win the championship, you need to have a top 5 run almost every week. And we have, I believe it's 11 nights of racing with 2 features each night, right? So 22 opportunities plus in that 3-minute qualifying session I mentioned. The guy who puts it on the pole is awarded with 5 points. The guy who finishes 5th is awarded with 1 point. Anywhere on back, you get nothing. So that's another thing. Those qualifying points are huge. You can be the guy who can't put down a lap in qualifying, but takes his time, uses patience, and from 6th or 7th or 10th or wherever you get to the front and you win the race and you get the most trophies at the end of the year. But if I win qualifying every week and finish 2nd every race of the year, I'm going to beat you. So in this class, you have to be good from the moment you roll through those pit gates to the moment you leave. It is honestly a very competitive series.
And like talking to Mike and talking to you, like you say, you're on the radio. You're the spotter from Mike. Now,
yep.
With you being super stock and him being the APC late model, would you eventually want to race the late model series, or do you like where you are?
Well, I definitely would. 2 years ago, I ran the full APC. The first year APC was created, I ran the first season of APC full time for Gold Racing. I ran the car for the APC series, and then Mike ran the car for the Delaware Pro Late Model Series. We kind of worked together and would help each other out. I definitely liked it. We weren't happy with staying with the APC series for year 2. Not because we had any problem with the APC series. It was my other program, the Superstock program. We had a good rookie year, and we were having intentions of running right up at the front and battling for that championship in year 2. And with running full-time Delaware Superstock plus full-time APC, which is only 8 races, but when I'm racing Friday night at Delaware, I got to come home at 12 o'clock at night, unload my car, then load that Pro Late Model in the trailer, go to bed, get up the next morning and drive to Sauble Beach. It's just, it was doable. I did it, and I probably am about 5 years older from it, but it's not the way to do it. Like, you won't meet anyone that loves racing more than I do, and people told me it's too much, and I will do this and that, and I'm a very determined young man, and I like to think that I can do anything, but as much as like I said, I would stay up all hours of the night, working on either the Superstock or the Pro Late Model, or I'm back and forth working on them. It's just too much to focus on 2 things with your full heart and your full brain, to focus on 2 things that are totally different, right? So it's hard to focus on working on them. It's hard to make time to do them all, and it's hard to jump back and forth between the 2 cars and remember how to drive them.
Well, go ahead. Sorry.
Our thing was until we win that super stock championship, we don't need to move up to late models because, like I said, I'm a guy who likes to. I like to think that I can do anything. So I've thought that I can win the super stock championship, and we've had our aggravations, we've had our hiccups and whatever, and I want to get it. So I wanted to focus on winning that super stock championship before we go on, because I don't like leaving a class without some bigger success. Anyways, we've won some races and done okay, but I want to consistently be knocking on the door for winning that championship.
And excuse me. And it's the same. It's like I was talking to a racer. We're based in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, where Mike's from, and I was talking to, I don't know if you've ever raced against Dustin Jackson here from the Sioux.
Heard his name for sure.
He's only 17, but right now I was actually talking to him last weekend at one of the local tracks, and he's racing a mod and a super late. And some weekends or some races, some nights he's doing both, but sometimes he's doing Friday in one and Saturday the other. And at 17, I said to him, "How are you liking it?" He goes, "I'm loving it," but he goes, "It is wearing me out." And this is 17 years old, so I know I know exactly how you feel. Is because he goes, you get the mindset of one, then you jump in the next day, you jump in the other one, and he goes, totally two different cars and trying to adapt. He goes, "Yeah," he goes, "You're turning left," but he goes, "That's the only thing that's similar is turning left."
Yeah, no, that's 100% true, for sure.
So. Now, you had mentioned, like, say, are you happy with how your season is so far, or is there things you want to change, or?
Yeah, unfortunately, we're not having the start we were looking for. We ran our first couple years in super stock with a car that we bought. We bought it off a competitor that raced at Delaware and actually won a championship with the car, Paul Fothergill. We raced that car, and out of the box in my rookie year, we were very fast. Like on night one, we had to start 17th because we were a rookie, and for the first three races, you have to start at the back. Mind you, there was probably 5 or 6 rookies that year, so we didn't have to start dead last. But like I said, back in 17th spot, and it was a green flag race, the whole race for that race number one. We drove from 17th to 7th. And I just ran out of laps. I couldn't get any farther ahead, but we were fast enough to keep moving forward. So that kind of aggravated me that, okay, well, as much as I'm a rookie, I'm I'm getting the short end of the stick here, starting at the back. I said, I'm fast enough to run with these front guys. I want to run the front. So I talked to Delaware, and they dropped my rookie status, so I wouldn't have a chance at winning the Rookie of the Year. And night number 2, we finished second in our heat race, and the heat races had all the cars in them. Delaware changed the format for that year in 2014. So there's 20 some cars in the heat races, and we finished second in the heat race. And then in the feature, we were running third, and I lost my brakes. And the next week it came out on week 3. The Flamborough cars and the Delaware cars had a 6-pack series. So their cars will come down for 3 races, and our cars will go there for 3 races.
And you're only about 2 hours difference, right? From Flamborough.
Not even, an hour and a half.
Yep.
So we're literally right down the highway. So when their cars came out, there was 30 cars on the track. And there's a qualifying session, and we were only allowed to do 1 lap in qualifying because I was the second last person to go and qualify, and they said that I had to be on pit road when the very first car went out. They told me this after the fact, right? Like, if they would have told us this in the driver's meeting, I would have been out on pit road, but they never told us that we needed to be on pit road. So I didn't go out until 5 cars before me, because why would I sit out there and just, it didn't make sense. So they docked us a lap for waiting too long. So with only 1 lap to qualify, we still qualified 6th of 30 cars. So as you hear me tell these stories, I'm just describing how good this car was when we got it and how competitive we were out of the box. And on that third night, when we qualified 6 out of 30, it was double features. I finished 5th in the first one. We went through tech, and we were 2 pounds light. I still to this day don't know how that happened. They're 2 pounds light. They made us start dead last in feature number 2. We went from dead last in feature number 2 to 10th in 7 laps. So I passed like a couple of cars were out, so I would have passed 15 cars in 7 laps. The thing was hooked up. A guy spun straight in front of me. I ran into him head on, and that car was never the same since for 3 years. We got it good enough to win the Great Canadian Race in 2015. We won the Great Canadian Race Dash for Cash in 2016. We won a bunch of heat races in between there, had some top 3 and top 5 finishes, but the car was not the same since. So this year, our plan was to build a new car. So we built this new car, and right out of the box, first weekend, the Spring Nationals Invitational, the car was bad fast. We finished 4th out of 23 cars. Still felt like we had some room to improve. Made a couple small adjustments. And on week 2, we lost 0.4 of a second. Like, it's just crazy. A couple small little adjustments. And when I'm talking adjustments, I'm talking we added a couple degrees camber in the left front. Took 1% of wedge out of it. Lowered some ride heights on the right side, and we totally lost our speed. Doesn't make sense, and we fought and have still been fighting to get this speed back, and we're still sitting 7th in points, which is definitely not where I want to be, but we're not totally out of the hunt yet. So hopefully on these next couple weeks we can regain our speed that somehow we lost.
Totally understandable. Now, can you talk a little bit what the Champion Spark Plug contest is?
Champion Spark Plugs, yep. In 2014, we entered in a North American-wide video-based competition. So this video-based competition was a 2-minute competition. It was a video entry of me, Trevor Collver, telling you who I am, where I'm from, what I race, and why Champion Spark Plugs think why should they sponsor me? I need to tell them who I am and why are you going to give me money? Why are you going to sponsor me? So in that 2-minute video, I told you just what I said. Who I am, what I've raced, and why. And this video I then shared through social media. It went online. It went through the newspaper, through friends, family, coworkers, CTV News on TV, radio stations in London. I got this video out there as much as I could to get the most important part of the contest, which was the votes. This contest was based on voting and based on judging. So my social media guy, Jared Dockstader, is one of the best in the business. This guy is amazing. Him and myself came up with a very good video that highlighted all the key points that we needed to. And we felt like the judges would be totally happy with that. And I think they were. And the rest of it was get votes from your fans, your friends, your family, your public. Everyone around here get votes. And even where you're not even where you're not getting votes from your community, you got to go outside the community. We went to the Canadian Motorsports Expo for an interview on the Young Guns panel there. We went, like I said, on CTV News, on pretty much all the radio stations around here. There is a radio station in Sarnia. Anywhere and everywhere we could get the name out there and the video out there to get more votes. We took every opportunity we could and we did it. And that paid off big time. This competition rewards 15 people. So there is...
In that year, there was over 400. There was over 400 people that year.
Well, 392 entries was the exact number. 392 entries throughout North America, and they had to pick 15 finalists. These 15 finalists won $5,000 as well as being able to carry the champion brand on the race car for the year. And these 15 finalists had to duke it out between themselves. With another month of voting again, when you think you've pulled out all the stops before to get votes, you got to reach a little further in your pockets and find some more, because you have to go that much harder and get that many more votes to get the top prize, and that top prize is $50,000. So we were fortunate enough, like I said, out of 392 entries in North America, we were fortunate enough to get in that top 15. Unfortunately, we didn't win the grand prize. The grand prize was won by Jordan Ives from Michigan. His uncle is Greg Ives, also known as Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s crew chief. So maybe there was something there, maybe there wasn't.
And that was with your.
I don't like to be.
That was with
yeah,
your
well,
truck,
for
right?
sure. You don't. I don't like to be a sore loser, but I went to bed the night before they announced that $50,000, and I'll be honest, I broke down in tears. I was so thankful and happy, and so blessed by how many people went out of their way to help me, and how hard every part of my family, again, Jared, my social media guy, everyone who helped me so much. I felt like I honestly thought we had won that competition, and I called around to everyone I could and thanked them all, because I was, again, so thankful for everything we did, and I feel like there's nothing more we could have done. I'm not upset about that part. Like I said, I went to bed telling myself that we won. I was so sure of it, because, like I said, we did such a good job promoting ourselves. I don't know. It was definitely a great experience. Learned a lot, met a lot of people. Once again, got my name out there more. It was an experience I'll never forget.
And that was with your late model truck, wasn't it?
That was with the truck that I raced at Delaware. That was what I raced in previous years, as well as my my other sprint cars and mini trucks. And that year is when we debuted our super stock. So that was the first year leading into the super stock days.
So, and now that you would actually know, but how many laps and miles do you think you'll put on the number one this season?
How many laps and miles? Let's say we do 11 races with two features each night. That's 50 laps of feature. So you're looking at 50 times 10, right?
Yep.
So you're, was that 500 laps? 500 laps, and then 2 more nights. So you're 600 laps, plus your 30 laps a night between all the qualifying and practice. So 30, so there's 330 more laps, plus any practice sessions during the week. Yeah, we got to be plus our invitationals, couple thousand laps.
A couple thousand laps going, like say, just turning left.
Just turning laps, yeah, between practice, qualifying, regular races, invitational races. Yeah, it's got to be up there.
And like I was talking to Mike earlier and saying about you guys being on the radio and stuff like that. And for people who aren't used to, like, say, a lot of tracks don't use the radios and stuff like that, but with that series they do. And with you being on the radio there, is it always just race talk, or is it sometimes with being 100 laps? Is there sometimes you just have to get not your mind wanders, but just have to, things get a little funny or whatever sometimes just when you're on the mics?
No way. There is no chance. There's no chance to get your mind wandering. The racing is so action packed and intensity filled. There is, and like I said, I live and breathe this stuff. There's no way to lose any sort of focus or attention on those races.
Now, and I didn't ask Mike this, but I'll ask you this, and I'll put you on the spot. Who's a better driver, you or Mike?
I can tell you who's a better qualifier, and that's the guy from Sault Ste. Marie named Michael Gold. When I raced APC, it was single car qualifying, 2 laps, and I'm not afraid to admit it. You can look at the results, and they'll tell you if you don't believe me, I'm not a qualifier. I believe this 5-lap format would work a lot better in my hands. For whatever reason, it just takes me a couple laps to really get my rhythm, and I'd like you to introduce me to a better qualifier than Michael Gold, because I haven't met one yet. Anytime I've been on the pit box for Mike, and he goes out there to qualify, whether he's got a 6th place car or a 20th place car, he's gonna put it on the top couple. He is truly amazing at qualifying. So I'll give him the qualifying, and then the race part. We've never raced against each other, so we can't actually tell the tale on that.
Totally understandable. now when he, and I use, for people who don't know, when it comes to, again, being on the radio, he's in the car, you're like, say, you're up above, you're spotting, and when it's not a good night, and I'm not putting the blame on either person, but it comes down to working as a team, right?
For sure. That's the biggest part of this. Like, between your crew, your spotter, the driver, it's all about coming together. So you'll see it too. A prime example of seeing this, you can't see what I'm saying to Mike, or you can't see what's going on with the crew chief or any of that at these races. You can watch NASCAR though, and you can see all of that. Whenever Kyle Busch is yelling at his crew chief or whatever, it doesn't go unnoticed. It gets mic'd up, and everyone hears all about it, right?
Yep.
So that stuff can totally happen in this racing. So once again, like I said, if you see an example like Kyle Busch, or not to say that anything's wrong with Kyle Busch, because he's an amazing race car driver, but when you see something like that, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that that's not chemistry. When you guys are arguing and yelling at each other and whatever, there's no benefit from that. So I was texting Mike today. We're going to race at Flamborough this weekend, and we were talking about adjustments to make on the car, how we want to approach it, what we want to do. We would go back and forth with different ideas, and we were testing each other. Some things he said I didn't 100% agree on. Some things I said he didn't 100% agree on, but we were both taking these points or tips or suggestions in stride. I even said that to Mike. I said, hey, no hard feelings. We're working on this together. And he wrote right back, nope, 100% agree with you. We're in it to win it. Let's talk. No feelings to be hurt. Like, we're going to work on this together. We're going to put our heads together, and hopefully we'll come out on top of this together. Now, you win and lose as a team.
Now, going into that, going with like, say, you and your family, is it's the same, like, say, win or lose, but does it get a little bit more, like you say, being a family, does it get a little bit more heated compared to you and Mike when you're dealing with family?
Sure. The biggest thing is with my family. Like I said, my mom is the heart and soul of this. She is huge into the racing. She will help me at the shop and at the track. My dad will help me at the shop, not so much at the track. In test sessions, he'll come out, but race nights, he's up in the stands. He is a mechanic, and he's a great mechanic. But when it comes to race cars, he's not a big race car guy. He doesn't understand that part of it as well as some of us others do. So we don't get in too many heated arguments about anything. He's just happy to be there and help and do whatever he can for me, and I totally appreciate that. Couldn't do it without him. My mom, she is right in the racing. She understands most of it, and she understands when a problem happens or I get mad or this and that. She understands that I'm not mad at her, and she says, hey, don't worry about hurt my feelings, because I know you're dealing with a race car and I know how this works. Do not worry about hurting my feelings, because I know when you're mad, you're not mad at us or anything. You're mad at the car. So in that token, I'm pretty lucky that she's able to understand that, because it's a frustrating sport. You can have the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and no matter how hard you try, there's some things that you just can't do anything about. They're out of your hands.
And that's exactly and what a lot of drivers say is, yeah, you put the car away, you close the gate on the trailer, and it's not done. It's not done because you're getting ready for the following week. But what it is that race is done. You learn from it. You learn the goods and the bads for the next race. But the I guess say the finish or whatever, it stays in the trailer, right? Like when it comes to Mom, it
for sure does.
The door goes up, and that race is done when it comes to being upset at that race, more or less, when it comes to Mom, right? When it's a mom-son relationship. So, and
she's all for that too. She's big on that too. When we close the door in the trailer and we're on our way home, we're on to the next race. And when I say we're on to the next race, I mean we're on to the next race. We're talking about what we need to do to get the car better, what we need to do as a team to be better, and how we're going to do it. We are so focused on excelling and exceeding. There's no room for negative talk in that. And if she gets down or I get down, we both get back at each other and say, hey, what are you talking about? Like, let's go. You can't think about the bad. You got to think about the good or what's going to happen. Don't waste any negative energy on that stuff. And she's been the biggest one to get me on this positive energy streak. And it is amazing what positive energy can do to you, because whether you got wrecked after you led the most laps of the race and you ended up on the trailer before the race was over, whether you want to dwell on it for 2 or 3 days or whether you want to be positive about it, you got to move on to the next week. So you might as well not be in a bad mood, not dwell on it, because at the end of the day, it is what it is. You can't ever take that back. So why waste any negative energy? So she has been huge on getting me to see that and change my attitude with the racing. And I've definitely learned and grown from it. As far as another big thing in racing we deal with is weather. When it rains, you can't run because the track is too wet, and we don't race when it's wet. So my mom will sometimes text me, oh, the weather doesn't look that good. Oh, it's a 40% chance of rain. And I said, Mom, that means there's a 60% chance it's not going to rain. So you gotta look at the glass half full, not half empty, or you're gonna have a tough time getting through it.
But I keep on saying, no matter what age we're at, Mom can still kick your ass when she wants, right?
This is 100% true.
And when it comes down to, the last question I always ask everybody is, who would you like to thank when it comes to help with the number one car, and any sponsors you'd like to mention?
Oh, I got a long list. I'm going to start out with Inventory Express Lubricants, Carter Trucking, Wilds Printing, Hodgins Custom Service, DK Equipment, Culver Towing, Nationwide Oil Spray, Fix Auto, Mark Kennedy Trucking, Outback Tire Shack, Minuteman Press, Melrose Garage, Dave Culver Auto Care, GNL Automotive, Novus Glass. I got to thank my crew big time for all the help. Jim Purry, Tanner Purry, Cole Purry, Kyle Cahoon, my mom, my dad, my stepdad, my uncle, Greg Edgington, Kyle Cahoon, I think I already said Kyle, Jared Dockstader, everyone who comes out, supports me, gives up their time, does everything they can for me. I got to thank Delaware Speedway for hosting such a good series to race in, opening such a good track for us to be a part of. And I got to thank guys like you who are spreading the word and getting more race talk out there and getting more fans in the stands. It's a big circle, and we got to help you, and you got to help us to make this whole thing go around in a circle.
Thank you very much. Now, one last question, and this is like I'm going to add, and Mike will probably kick both of our butts for it. Comment on his slogan, "Sold by Gold."
Hey,
like I said to him,
I like it. I like it.
I said to him, I said, "Sold by Gold." I said, thing is I guess after you come across the line checkered and you grab that checkered, it's still a gold, right? So you can say he sold that race and won the gold, right?
Yeah, no, I got that. That's a good slogan, and hopefully we can come up with some more good slogans as we're joking around after some victories maybe later on this year.
Well, I can't thank you enough, and hopefully we can talk going into the end of the season, and we'll talk again. Hopefully, I hear you're going down to the new Cuga, the new
Jukasa, yep.
And we're hoping to make it down there. So hopefully we can meet in person and do another interview.
Yeah, no, that'd be awesome to touch base. Big thanks to you for having me on the show. Thank you to you and Rev It Up Racing. Great to be a part of it, and we'll talk.
We'll talk to you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Nobody gets you closer to the action than Rev It Up Racing. For all your short track racing and late model, modified, ABC stock car, street stock, and 4-cylinder divisions, visit revitupracing.net. That's revitupracing.net for all your racing coverage.